If you clicked on this video, you probably have a basic understanding of what Forge is, right? In any case, it's a mod loader for Minecraft that operates by injecting the custom code found in mod files into its custom Forge executable, separate from your Minecraft installation. This means that you can have multiple Forge versions for a wider range of support, the same way you can have multiple Minecraft versions in the launcher. Mods can go anywhere from adding an entire dimension to just changing 3 numbers in the code, so they're pretty volatile all things considered. The reason I'd be surprised if you didn't know what Forge is because Forge was actually created during beta Minecraft by a modder called Aloram in collaboration with Space Toad, and it has been prevalent ever since. And well, the project was actually born under necessity, as modders used very early mod loaders to inject code, but they were limited, very limited, and most were never even able to interact with each other. So they chose to create a project to hook multiple mods together into Minecraft without overriding the same lines of codes and creating conflicts. And so they kept development for a few years until Lex Manos, a very important figure in the community we'll talk about later, was the one to take over the development around 2013 up until this day and age. So in short, Forge's purpose was only to stop mods from conflicting and breaking each other, sort of like an intermediary. And Forge for years and years was the only competition up and coming. Because why would anyone make another mod loader? This one seemed perfect, and it had a back catalog spanning 10 years. Because for a very long time, you could make anything work in Forge, no matter the scope or the ideas. Stuff with high poly models like Pixelmon, giant mods with many biomes and many creatures, everything all worked under the same umbrella of Forge. And since very early, let me tell you. And everything was perfect for them. Until it wasn't. Because Update Aquatic came out 1.13, and for some, maybe it was just another update, but in reality, it was the update that started the true step forward for Minecraft, in which developers shifted perspectives, officially announced changes to the textures, and overrode a load of the code, including how chunks are stored. And Forge had many years in its back. It had accumulated complexity and what can only be described as spaghetti code. And this made it so updating each version was a disaster on its own, needing days of non-stop work by their closed-off team to be pushed out. So new Forge updates basically took anywhere from 3 days to even weeks to come out for most major updates, leaving players and mod makers stranding, waiting for the updates to be pushed out. And I remind you, there's people who actually just can't play Minecraft without mods, because they have to use mods like Optifine or Sodium that help with performance. And hey, behind the scenes it didn't look too good either. In fact, even though I'm not one to get into personal drama, developers from the original Forge all agree that Lex Manos wasn't the nicest guy ever. So, with all these issues arising, developer Asikirka got hands-on to work on the first ever true competitor to Forge. And so, Fabric was born in 2018. It was a lightweight, fast, and easy to update alternative to Forge's slow, clunky codebase. It basically had everything Forge did, but improved your game's performance by default instead of degrading it so much. It was completely open source and was much more developer friendly. In fact, it has a wiki with tutorials for basically anything you can imagine. But it had a downside. The downside being that legacy mods from Forge would never work on Fabric, and a lot had to be changed for them to be ported over, aside from the fact that Fabric at first didn't quite support some APIs for big complex mods, like ones adding too many registries or blocks. And it didn't seem like it at first, as it had a very slow and underground launch. But it really took major traction around 2020 with the Nether update when Forge hit rock bottom. Updates were slower than ever, the performance was now actually unbearable, and big mods started supporting Fabric as a result. And this was only the start of the dethroning. Also didn't help that a lot of Fabric mods focused on performance, and hey, not everyone can have a giant gaming PC that's over 3,000 bucks, okay? I for one spent years and years playing in a shitty Windows 7 laptop that could barely even run 1.13 when it came out. So, Fabric started to piss on Forge's running body, as they kept getting bigger and bigger, and Forge just more clunky and more bloated. But there was still something missing: support for the old mods. And many developers, such as the Pixelmon team, who made ginormous mods containing hundreds of models and things that would be hell to rewrite hand by hand, straight up didn't bother to update. Even many popular servers had a rough transition into this update. And well, in 2023, an alternative was made. Many former Forge developers who left the original project due to conflicts with the current leadership grouped together once more to modernize Forge using safer code injection with the use of mixins, a modern way to modify existing codes live without directly editing the original source files. And it was already heavily used on Fabric, and NeoForge was here to learn from it. In fact, many ideas and techniques to build NeoForge were straight up copied from Fabric. We could say it's like a bastard child between Forge and Fabric. So here was NeoForge, a mod loader which allowed easier compatibility with old mods with minor tweaks, bringing back the massive library of mods stuck in limbo once and for all. They just had a better workflow, were open source, and avoided the old system of priority on core mods which Forge had, outdated by a literal decade. And despite the rise in popularity of NeoForge, the Forge mod loader developers are staying strong. In fact, they have kept updating Forge like usual. Slowly, yeah, but even if they actually update it, it doesn't take a big brain to realize how actually poor the performance is. NeoForge is simply better, there's no way around it. And every day you see more and more mods prompting to make a NeoForge and or a Fabric version instead of using the original Forge. And there will probably be a point in which the developers realize it's not worth it anymore and completely shut down the project. The old versions still work like a charm, sure, and they'll always do, but the game has evolved and changed a lot. The code has been changed, the performance is different, and basically everything else has also been changed. Forge was made for a different time, and another era, and despite updating it, it suffers from the same issues some giant old mods face. It's not easy to update, and it has a lot on its back. And with that, Forge still leaves a legacy of years of mods in its back catalog, hundreds of thousands of hours played by all of us, and despite drama, it will always be remembered fondly. Fabric is also thriving now, as it can now support big mods with a lot of changes too, pretty much serving as the NeoForge alternative for just better performance or playing vanilla. Websites offering Minecraft mods have also slowly been offering options to select between Fabric, NeoForge, or Forge versions flawlessly, with an environment that has been carefully crafted for everything to be as easy to understand as possible and to let both loaders persist side by side. And although this has all been pretty good and sounds pretty good, the whole Fabric versus NeoForge versus Forge debacle also has its own issues. Smaller mod loaders have also arisen, seeing as how there was a gap in the market, creating what I can only describe as player-side hell. Because seriously, if you have no idea what you're doing, you're trying to download mods for Minecraft for the first time ever. You're gonna be clicking in the download page and get prompted with 2, 3, or maybe even 4 different download options, depending on your supposed loader. And you probably don't even know what a loader is. And while obviously we can't have a perfect unified loader to curate all needs, it is also true that it's kind of getting messy, and people can start to get sick of it. It's confusing for developers who have to choose the loader they're going to work in, players who can mix certain mods because they're just not compatible, or just driving people away because it's too complex. And in fact, me personally, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't quite have the guts to look into Fabric until almost a year ago. I just dismissed it as another Forge, and honestly I didn't need it back then, until the performance just got horrid with Forge. It was just unbearable this time. So in short, Minecraft mod loaders have gone from having the most stale history you can tell, and how Forge basically reigned over everyone for 10 years, to slowly diverging into a messy road of forks and alternatives that, while fixing their own issues on their own, also drive up a lot of confusion for newcomers and create new issues. Forge has to die. Destiny is basically written. There's no way around it anymore, and it's just a matter of time. But whether NeoForge will prevail, Fabric won't be replaced, or a new complete loader comes up to solve all the issues by itself, we won't know. And we won't know until it happens.